Hey guys, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here, hello and welcome.
Tasty, huh?
That was good.
Yeah.
What was that just before we move on?
That was the Tube Screamer into the AC30 with a little bit of Arcapistan thrown in there for...
Who'd have thunk?
Sparkle and
How many times
joy.
have I said to people, yeah, Tube Screamer not the best for the AC30?
Well, by the time we get through this, we'll get back to that and go, ah. Anyway,
Yes.
we'll see.
So, okay, welcome to Modern Classic Overdrives. But before we do that, some housekeeping.
Some housekeeping.
Number one, we are on Patreon.
We are on Patreon.
Please, if you want to give us some money.
Yeah, go and check it out. And thank you to everyone that's already supporting us on Patreon.
Yeah,
I
it's
really appreciate it.
crowdfunding for creatives is what it is.
Yeah.
So Patreon is number one. Number two is please go to thatpedalshowstore.com and buy a t-shirt. That's another way we raise a bit of cash to keep doing what we're doing. Third, we want to say hello to our exclusive preferred retailers in the USA. That is Riff City Music.
Yes.
Hello, guys.
How you doing?
Please
How you
go and
going?
visit their website. And in the UK and Europe, it is Anderton's Music Co., unsurprisingly.
Yes. There we go.
So yeah, good. Housekeeping out the way.
Job done. Right, so, modern classic overdrives. I don't know why we throw modern in there, but it is, I guess, we say modern because these are, we're not looking at vintage gear specifically.
Yeah.
The only thing that really isn't new is the Tube Screamer, but it's the Tube Screamer Mini, so we throw that into the modern
Yeah,
classics.
modern classic meaning that the kind of pedals that everyone refers to as the kind of as a tone that's well known and well used, and to be fair, lots of other modern pedals are kind of based off those designs.
Absolutely.
So Tube Screamer, absolutely, we know all about the Tube Screamer, introduced in the late 1970s, a kind of mid-humpy, bass-cutting-y, solo boosty type pedal designed to go in front of a valve amp, and called the Tube Screamer because so say it was supposed to sound a little bit like tubes, or valves as we call them here in the UK. OCD, Daniel?
OCD. So this is the full tone. It's, I would say, reasonably ubiquitous. It's a harder clipping version of, well, it's a harder clipping overdrive pedal. Not crazy amounts of gain, but a really usable range of gain.
Full of frequency response as well, isn't it? So it doesn't
It is.
cut off bass in the way that the Tube Screamer does.
That's right.
And I always say, people always say, oh, I hate Tube Screamers, don't want that. I always say, buy an OCD.
Yeah.
Because in our world, it's almost, it's not the polar opposite, because the polar opposite would be some kind of crazy fuzz. But in the overdrive world,
Definitely.
it's the other side of the coin.
Yeah. It's a much more level response as opposed to the mid hump.
Yeah.
From
And
the
for
Tube
that, you
Screamer.
could also probably read Boss Blues Driver, which is in a similar kind of... And we really juggled with whether to include the OCD or the Boss Blues Driver, and we decided on the OCD just because we featured the Blues Driver a lot, and we haven't featured the OCD as much.
And the OCD is worthy of as much attention as we can give it. It's
It is a
fantastic.
modern classic.
Absolutely.
Next is Klon Type. We've got a Rock Your Repaired Amp Klon Clone. We haven't used the real Klon because they're not available. So let's use something that is available, and for that you can read any other Klon clone out there, and also J-Rocket Archer.
But this is a particularly great one. This is really
We reckon that's as close to the
as close as you
close
can
to
get.
my Silver Klon
Yep.
as anything we've heard.
Yep.
So
definitely.
that's why we've chosen that. Different again. Kind of has the more aggressive treble and the headroom characteristics of the OCD, but is a different kind of gain, as we'll get onto. This is a pedal we get asked for a lot.
The Zen Drive.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is the remake of Zen Drive from Sean Love Pedal, and it's a classic. It's fantastic. It was the pedal that Robin Ford used when he couldn't take his Dumble out. He would take this and plug it into
It's a problem we all have.
couple of red knob twins.
I say, tonight, love, we're going out. Can't take the Dumble. We'll just have to take the Zen Drive. And she's like, okay.
Yeah, but
It's another place.
It does a really good job of mimicking the way that amp responds. Yeah, and the Dumble, I mean, it's a sound that whether you know it or not, we've all heard. There's from Carlos Santana to Larry Carlton, and Robin Ford, obviously. there's so many players with, you know, through the 70s.
I was going to say it was on tons and tons of really massive releases throughout the 70s,
Yeah.
with Larry Carlton using
Yeah.
them. Whoever was the guitar player in Christopher Cross's band, I always mention him, but because it's such a great blooming
Is it
guitar
incredible?
sound.
Incredible.
Lowell George, David Lindley on the slide side of things. It's a serious.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's that. And we oh blimey, so we wanted to include the Angry Charlie, but we always include the Angry Charlie, and then should we include the MI Audio Crunchbox? Then should we include the original
Governor?
Governor? So Dan said, no. Do you know what? Modern classics. This has earned its place as a modern classic.
Absolutely, the Sir Riot, and this is another one that we've been asked for all the time. It's fantastic. It is. I would say it definitely has characteristics of the MIB, the Marshall in a Box pedal. It is certainly the high gain, but it's not high gain as in just distortion. It is a musical. You can plug it into a lovely clean amplifier. It doesn't get fizzy.
Yeah, and that's
lovely sounding high gain pedal.
And as we gallop slowly towards the point, its inclusion here is to handle the higher gain end of things.
That's right.
So these all represent a slice of classic overdrive pedal history and current state of play. However, they all react very differently into amplifiers.
Here we go.
So we have
the AC30. So this is my 61. Now, it's the reason we're using this is because we don't have a new one. And maybe we'll need to
Alan
sort that
Scally
out.
at Korg. We don't have a new one.
We don't have a new AC30, so we're using my old one. And it is a particularly lovely sounding thing. And that's with a Les Paul. We'll see it with a Strat. But just, sorry, I need to wait. It's chimey, you know.
Yeah, it's
It's just such a fantastic sound. Okay, the next amplifier we're going to look at is the Victory. So
Sheriff 44. This is here to play Marshall duties today again because we don't have a Marshall. We've got the Victory Sheriff 44, which does a very good plexi.
it's a very good plexi.
And onwards. So
Yeah.
the point of that amp. Well, let's talk less and play more. Hey, Dan. Fairly unforgiving.
What a great sound!
So we've deliberately set it up so that it's breaking up quite nicely. Not too much. It's certainly not set to a heavy gain, but power amp's working and the front end is working where the Strat will just about drive it and the Les Paul will drive it really well. And that has a fundamental effect on what the pedals do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
And finally, we have the lovely Super. The Super, it compresses in a very different way. The attack is so quick, and it's very different with the AC30. You can really feel, just the way that amplifier with the big GZ34 rectifier valve using, working so hard. It just compresses differently, and it's so fast. The Super Reverb.
everything's different, isn't it? So completely different preamp structure, totally different power valves. The AC30's cathode bias, the Super's fixed bias.
Yep.
All of it's completely different.
Yeah.
And as a result, the topic we're going to come back to throughout the whole of this video is the headroom characteristic is completely different, and that's
Yes.
one of the main reasons why it sounds so different.
Yes. Another thing I just wanted to point out. Now we've been asked when we show different pedals into different amplifiers why we don't use a looper, and there is definitely a valid point for using a looper. But I just wanted to point out, if I have the Tube Screamer into the AC30, okay, so let's do that. Let's start with the Tube Screamer into the
Okay.
AC30, right? So if I'm here, so AC30 on the top. Tube Screamer into the AC30. Okay, but then I did the Tube Screamer into the Super. Here's the point. I'm inspired to play very differently with the Tube Screamer into the AC30 than the Tube Screamer into the Super Reverb.
Yeah.
And for good measure, let's hear the Tube Screamer into the Victory.
Okay, so
Awesome.
so that was 1, 2, and 3, was it?
Yeah, so clean, it's the Tube Screamer into the AC30,
Yeah.
Tube Screamer into the Victory, Tube Screamer into the Fender.
Right. Okay. So go on, just play that. Give me that A figure rock stuff that you were playing there.
Yep,
Yeah, on the bridge pickup.
yep. Oh yeah! Awesome. So this is a classic example of why the Tube Screamer is loved into a breaking up amplifier. Okay? So if you imagine we've got this full frequency amplifier that's breaking up, right? It's clipping, it's doing that lovely natural amp compression, sounds great. If I hit that signal with a full frequency pedal, what's going to happen is especially the bottom end, it tends to flub a bit, which is why the Tube Screamer is such a fantastic choice as a booster into that sort of amplifier, because it keeps the bottom end tight,
tightens it all up.
and it pushes those mid-range frequencies through, and it just sounds wicked. Awesome. Here, have a go on that with the Strat.
Okay, so it's a Strat. Yeah, you flick through them. So. Yeah, all really completely and fundamentally different.
Yeah, and
This is the first video today. My fingers are not working. I've been playing the guitar solidly for 2 days, and my fingers are not working. What Dan was saying earlier about it sort of taking you in different directions is absolutely right, because when you do that Tube Screamer into the Fender amp thing, because the Fender amp's got so much bottom end anyway.
Yep.
And then you get that push in the mids, and then you're immediately into Stratty, that whole sound legacy of Stevie Ray Vaughan and on.
And you recognise that as soon as you hear it.
Very much so. So okay, if we mess about with the controls on the pedals, we are going to be here all day.
Yep.
So let's just go for a lower and a higher gain sound. So
Okay.
I'll just die a bit more. Normally people run tube screamers with slightly less gain, but let's up the gain and see what happens. Yes, try that.
Okay. So this is the AC30 by itself.
You stay on the treble pickup.
It's great.
Not much we need to say, is there?
No.
Other than underlining the point that the next time you go, oh, what I really need is this pedal, and because so-and-so on somebody's forum says it sounds great, the great unknown in everything that's said there is what amp you're using it into, because it's fundamentally different.
Yep. Crazy different.
Right,
Okay.
let's move on.
OCD.
So what we should do is, can we switch quickly from just that sound and then I'll just switch straight to this? Can we do that?
Sure. Absolutely. So that's that into the SC30. OCD SC30.
So you immediately hear a load more bottom end.
That's it.
And if we were to switch into HP mode here,
Yep.
that's where you'd really hear the difference.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That is killer.
It's a cool sound.
Yeah.
I think Mike says that when he wants a more martially feel, I think is when he uses the OCD.
Right.
And I think what he says is, put it into the Victory for a sec, can you?
Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah, exactly. That's fantastic.
As you can see from the OCD, it's kind of a more rock sound, would you
Mhm.
say? But it will do. I mean, it will do high gain if you just listen to the Strat a sec. Jesus, that's loud. Sorry, what you were saying earlier about a pedal kind of inspiring you into different. The dynamic of that completely different from the Tube Screamer.
Yeah.
I thought when I switched up the HP switch, I thought it was going to go and be all horrible,
Right.
but it wasn't at all. It just gave it a really nice presence and attack, and I think balance with the extra gain.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind just flicking me through the 3 amps?
Sure. So with the AC30.
That's a good sound. That is a good sound.
That's killer.
Why have we not got an... Well, we have. That one's not going back, Mr. Anderson.
No, no.
Yeah, okay. All right, so...
OCD. Classic.
Blumming, blimey, and blimming again.
I'll never forget the first time I heard one was at a guitar show. One of the really old... It was, we were at Wembley.
Right.
The guitar show used to be at Wembley. And I had my little AC10. And the AC10 was sounding really good. And I plugged an ACD into the AC10. And it was like, this is one of the best sounds I've ever heard.
I wasn't expecting it to be that good, for want of a better word,
Yeah.
through all 3 of the amps. It definitely had its own thing.
I think a lot of people... how do I put this? Hang on.
Generalisation.
Generalisation. Yeah, I'm trying. Okay. They have a reputation of being a real aggressive, hard
Yeah.
edge but actually, it is such a musical sounding
Yeah.
overdrive.
If the aggression's there at all, it's just where the Tube Screamer really doesn't have it. So it's soft clipped, it's rolled off at the high end, whereas the OCD just feels like much more headroom. And plus you get all that lovely, juicy, high-end stuff to help you cut through.
Yeah.
We should also say I'm pretty sure the OCD can run at 18 volts.
It can indeed run
Yeah,
at 18 volts.
we're not going to do that now, but
Yeah, so for a different...
yeah, for even more headroom.
Yes.
Right, shall we move along?
Oh, and we'll just say that for the reference to the other PAL video,
Oh yeah.
only a new King of Tone can run at 18 volts. If you have an old one and try run it at 18 volts, you're going to run into trouble. So check with Mike before you try running
Yes.
your King of Tone at 18 volts.
Always check for anything,
Anything.
before you change the voltage on a pedal.
Yes, yeah,
I think we made that clear.
yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
Right.
Right. The Klon.
Klon. Yes. So I'm a massive fan of the Klon because of, well, for so many reasons. This isn't a Klon. This is a Klon clone, but it's as close as we've found.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when we did our little Klon shootout thing, we loved the Tumnus. The Tumnus sounded great, but the Tumnus sounded a bit different than the Klon because it had a bit more bottom end.
Loads more bottom end, yeah.
Yeah.
Which can be great, but it's kind of a different thing.
Yeah, yeah. But it's the, it's the one that I use.
Yeah. You prefer it, don't you?
Just that bottom end, it just sounds great.
Yeah.
But if I'm after a pure clon sound,
Mm.
it's this.
Mm.
Definitely. For like that solo boost thing that
Yeah.
we love, it's this every time. So if you want to have a go with this into the AC30, and so at the moment I've got it set up so it's just a booster. Then into the super. This is without it. And then into the victory.
Yeah, it's a different thing. Puts a load more high end on into the victory than it does to the more Marshally style amp than it does into the other two.
Yeah.
Which I suspect might come into its own on that guitar.
Okay. Yeah, let's try that then. So into the victory. To the
Just anything else.
yep, so it's 2 or 4. So that's the AC30. And then into the super. Let's try with a bit more gain. So we have it set up now with no gain. That's just boosting.
Yeah, and what it was doing, it was because there's so much more headroom in the super. I don't know if this will come across on the audio. I hope it does. It's pushing the super much louder.
Yeah.
Much louder than the other two amps.
Yeah.
So it really is opening that amp right out, and you're getting more volume as well as more gain.
And you can really the thing with the Klon pedals is that transient.
Yeah.
It's so quick, and it makes it feel different.
And it's the key. I mean, a lot of people go, "Oh, isn't it just a Tube Screamer?" No way.
No.
I mean, it's so. In fact, let's just put that to bed. Can we do that, or
Yeah.
which one is the Tube Screamer in
This
this
is
one?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll switch it on and off.
Okay.
That's fine.
live.
So different. If you hear what that does to a Strat, it'll be even more.
It's
Yeah.
just
We used a phrase, or I used a phrase in a video recently, chalk and cheese, which apparently is not a phrase that is used in America. It just means very different.
one is chalk,
Yeah.
one is cheese.
But you know, you can get that cheddar, that really nice cheddar that's a little bit chalky, so it doesn't actually stand up.
You're saying there's a middle ground.
Oh yeah, I am. In here, the context of chalk and cheese is very different. Like Arthur and Martha, is that right?
That's it.
What, I don't know. What do they say in the States? So you'll have to tell us what that means in the US. But yeah, so much more dynamic response in terms of available headroom. It was punching,
Yeah.
especially on this kind of D and G strings with the Strat, with the Klon-type pedal, and with the Tube Screamer, much more compression, doesn't attack in any of the ways.
So, Zen Drive. You have to go with this one. So,
Sorry, go on to the Marshall.
Marshall.
Keep calling it a Marshall, the Victory. It's interesting because I'm desperately trying not to just carry on playing the same old blues licks all the time, but that doesn't make me want to play that stuff.
No.
What I was thinking was I want a humbucker and I want to play kind of soaring, huge...
It's so funny you say that. That's exactly my experience with it. When
Right.
I'm doing so.
Well, come on then.
All right, so. It's killer.
Definitely. What was back to the beginning where you mentioned dear old Robin Ford there, using it, when he's got to rent amps and stuff. No doubt that into the Super Reverb, it gave a very different sort of mid-range response.
With an amp that has headroom, is where it shines. It's.
But that said, into the Victory, it brought Dave Kilminster to mind, where you just get that kind of honky mid-rangey push thing on the humbuckers.
If you turn the gain down into as a booster, it's beautiful.
And it's very different from anything else on the board.
Which is why it's become a classic, because there are situations where it is just perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't really feeling it with Strat, I have to say.
Okay.
Let me try
so
this.
the big guns.
Well, and that's not to say it doesn't work with the Strat, just I wasn't feeling it in the same way that I was feeling the OCD for the rock thing.
Yeah.
Let's try this.
Okay.
So P90.
That's a lovely new pickup
Oh yeah.
you've got on there.
Thanks to Collings. In the video we made about this guitar, I said that I wouldn't mind a tortoiseshell pickguard, so they very kindly sent me one. Thank you, Mark. That's very kind. And I prefer it too.
Okay.
Used to play that years ago. It definitely encouraging the single note thing.
It is one of my, if not my favourite lead tone pedal.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. We use that in the Solo Tones video.
Yeah.
And it really does just push that note forward.
Well, maybe when we've after we've moved on to the Riot, we could just put it on top of a couple of other pedals and see what happens. Because really, these two, the Cloney type and the Zen Drive type, are the ones that you do add on to other pedals, aren't they?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, all right, interesting, and again, very different into each of the amps. Yeah, I can, absolutely why somebody like Robin Ford would use one with a Super Reverb.
Definitely
Makes a huge amount of sense.
Yep, definitely. Okay, and for the end we have the Riot. So, if you wouldn't mind, sir.
What does the voice do?
It's like a 3-position brightness thing. So.
Yeah, not a sound I would use, but very, very different. Let's hear it with that. That's probably more appropriate, isn't it?
Ah, it's lovely. If you think that's the super reverb, that's how it sounds. That's special.
What I wasn't, I've never heard one of these before. It's got a real upper mid kick, not totally dissimilar to the Zen Drive in the frequencies that it works at, I don't think.
Right.
Or it's somewhere around there. It's kind of that upper. It's not what I was expecting. I was expecting a mid scoopy,
Sure. It's got a lot more bottom end.
heavy gain overdrive.
Yeah.
You know, more like kind of Bogner kind of thing.
Okay.
And it's not like that at all.
No.
It's really not like that. Yeah, I can see why Guthrie likes it.
Yeah.
And Dave K uses it as well, does
Oh
he?
yeah.
Yeah.
But here's a black one.
Right.
He has a special black one. But no, it's this is why they've become so popular and so many people love them. You can, put them into a super reverb and sound like that. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, certainly. Some of that chunk it was given to the bottom end there. I
Yeah.
mean, the Super's got loads of bottom anyway, but it was kind of almost 4x12 cabby, that kind of thump.
Yep.
Okay, so there we go. We've run through all 5 of those pedals into 3 different amps, and I hope we've done it in a way that really does let you hear that they're completely different into the different amps, but also that they do sit in their own little world. And I would, sure, there are pedals that sit between these pedals, but a lot of modern overdrive pedals come from these basic families, don't they?
Tube Screamer. It is its own thing.
We don't even need to come up with a word for it because it cuts bass, it cuts treble, and as a result, it's pushing mids. It's a fairly soft thing, and it compresses a lot. OCD is kind of out of the line of a more hard-clipped line of pedals. Not going to say rat because rat's not really the same thing.
No.
It's more like a fuzz, the rat really in the circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, the fuzz was certainly inspired.
Yeah, so
Fuzz Face.
that's a different thing. And bear in mind we talk about overdrive here, not really distortion, even though they're the same thing. Much higher headroom.
Much higher headroom.
Much less compression.
Yep.
Much fuller frequency. Completely different.
Bang on.
Boosty, less gainy, plenty of upper mids and top. And
Not to say that it hasn't got gain. It does have gain there, but where it shines is as a booster. As gain down a bit and giving it some love.
But again, nowhere near as compressed as the Tube Screamer.
No.
Completely different EQ.
Yep.
curve.
Yep.
Starting to get more specialist over that side, aren't we?
Yes.
As we get into Zendrive territory, you heard what it does. It's a very specific upper mid-range kick, which you can. I mean, you can change using the voice
Yeah.
knob.
Yeah. But
yeah.
that's its thing. That's
Yeah, it's that and a mid kick in a very different way than a Tube Screamer does it. Again, because you've also got bottom end and you've also got top, and I would say it's more dynamic, doesn't compress as much.
no.
And
so
then,
you can hear that into the super.
yeah,
Just fantastic.
and then finally,
So right.
higher gain, kind of does remind me of that whole humbucker Floyd,
It's okay. So
that world.
yeah, well, it's the high gain Marshall
Yeah.
approach, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's we approach that when as soon as I go bridge pick up with this, it's Chug City and it just sounds fantastic, but it does it without sounding harsh. Like there's a family of distortion pedals that work into a certain amplifier, but they do have a characteristic of sounding really harsh, and that doesn't,
It's also a bit like the OCD. It's very handy having a switch, which seems to tame the EQ to suit a different kind of amp.
Definitely.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of manufacturers now, the really good designers, they're aware of that. They're aware that, not everyone's going to be plugging into, a JCM 800, and the little switches they have on there help tailor those frequencies for the specific amplifier. I mean, there's definitely 3-position switch on that, and one of the positions has more of a mid kick as well.
yeah.
So that's really great that you can find the one that works best for the amplifier. But yeah, you can see why they're classics.
Yeah.
Or you
And
can hear why they're classics.
hopefully some one, two or all or some of those pedals have just tweaked your ears and gone, oh yeah, that's the kind of thing I like. I prefer that kind of thing. And hopefully that helps in your decision about what where you go next. Because lots of modern pedals are spin-offs of these basic worlds, aren't they?
That's right.
Okay, so just before we finish, I'd quite like to hear the clone boosting the OCD.
Okay.
Is what I would like to hear.
Into the front of?
Yeah, so if we have this first and then that.
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay, no worries. So,
Yeah.
So we'll have...
Into the super reverb,
Into the super. There's your super.
I could live with that.
Yeah. Wow, that's fantastic.
Go on, what would you go for?
Okay. I'm going to go for... I'm going to put the Vox and the Super on together. We did that last week.
Yeah, it's
And it's such
special.
It is such an amazing sound. So I'm going to have the Supers from the Humdinger Unit at 10 and the Vox is in 1. So... and I'm going to have the... I'm going to put the OCD and the Zendrive on together.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn the OCD down a little bit. Oh, actually, no. I'll leave that up there. I'm going to turn the gain down on the Zendrive. So here's the OCD.
like.
Man. Okay, so now turn the gain down on this.
That was awesome. I was switching between the Klon and the Zendrive different boosters there, so you'll have heard that.
Yeah, but fascinating though, the different, how different they sounded. Both sounded awesome. That, oh, man.
Well, there we go.
Just
There we
so
go. So, obviously, you need one of every kind of overdrive pedal to begin your overdrive pedal journey. Second, you need to stack them together in combinations that you enjoy. And, you know, most of all, it's... How many times have we said it about just making sure that the overdrive you choose does what you want into the amp of your choosing?
Absolutely. So, you know, the big thing today, guys, was, I mean, yes, these are pedals that at one point or another you've all heard before, but hearing how they respond with these guitars into these different amplifiers, hopefully that's giving you a little bit of inspiration as to the sort of amp that you're using, the sort of rig that you're using, and, you know, what you may want to, you know, have a look at adding to your arsenal, or, you know, just it's just about inspiring you guys to think differently about, you know, the pedal creates a sort of sound. It is how the pedal is working with the amplifier.
Yeah, isn't that the point?
That's the whole point.
The pedal doesn't do anything on its own.
Yep.
It sits in between this and that.
It's reactionary.
And that's where the noise comes from.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's a whole thing.
There we go. Oh, that was so much fun.
That was good fun.
Yeah, man.
The OCD thing, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We might have to get another one. Cheers, guys. Really hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Cheerio.